Getting curious and experimenting with your listening practice. Hi, Vicky Kelty here with another episode of the Language Learning Report Card podcast. Today is all about listening. I'm going to share some leisure hits and leisure busts, and there is an overlap in many of the examples that I'm sharing, but all of them are to give you examples so that you can experiment yourself with some different listening ideas to, in the end, I want you to stay curious and just experiment with your listening practice. And don't make it like a task that you have to do. Just make it time that you get to spend with English. That's all it has to be, just fun listening practice. So, one of my leisure hits was that I've been watching a TV show called, I have to think of the name, the Les Petites Meurtres d'Agatha Christie. And it's set in the 50s. It's like this comedy drama where they're solving these murders, and they're all based around Agatha Christie stories, which I love. And I have to commit every time I watch an episode because they're 90 minutes and I don't have to watch it in one day. So that's your first thing that you definitely might choose to divide your listening into separate days. And that is like, there's no judgment there. I think that's a really smart way to do your listening practice. Small doses. And one of the hits that I had was as I was watching these episodes, I started to notice words and phrases that were repeated throughout, and I was picking up on them. I was like, oh, I've heard this word before. Oh, I've heard this word before. I've heard this phrase before. I know what they're saying here. I understand this whole question. And I think that's just a really cool thing when you recognize what the people are saying. So you are becoming familiar with their greetings or the way they agree or disagree with people. So, yeah, just give yourself a pat on the back every time that you start to pick up on these new things. And maybe you'll do it in connection to the subtitles that you have if you use subtitles. I, for example, um, I usually use subtitles for French. So for this particular TV show, I can watch it in the original version in French, or I can watch the dubbed version of Spanish. And then I have the option to add subtitles, but only in Spanish. Sometimes what will happen is that I will notice a word and I'll see the subtitle and I'm like, oh, okay. When they have this subtitle, a lot of times the thing that they say in French sounds like this word. And so I'm picking up on the French by connecting it to the subtitles. So there's already a couple of things for you to play around with and be curious about as you're listening to try and pick up more of the language. Another hit, something that I really like to do, and this is also an activity that's mentioned in my digital product, Listen, Read, Speak, that to practice pronunciation, you copy the thing that you're listening to. And I just think that it's such a simple way to practice your pronunciation and get to tie in speaking to listening. And I mean, it's just so easy. They say it on the television. You can rewind it. You can say it with them. You can pause it, read the subtitle, guess what they're going to say. Like there's so many different ways that you can do it. But the point is to just get to practice, even if it's just a word. that you're practicing saying it the same way that you're hearing somebody else say it. And who better to practice with than the person that's right there on your TV? I mean, it's awesome. It's so easy. There were obviously some leisure busts as well. And one was that I started off with watching one of these episodes. So remember, it's a 90-minute episode, but I was committed. And, or was I? Because right at the beginning, I grabbed my phone and I was looking around on different things that I had on my phone. And I'm like, oh, wait, I'm watching this episode. So I had heard some of what was going on, but I didn't really absorb what they were saying. So I heard it, but it didn't register. So I had to go back and start the episode over and rewatch all of that with my phone set down, because that experiment taught me that I cannot watch French with distractions. And that's something that I can sometimes do in Spanish. So this is why it's like being curious with your listening, because maybe it's something that you will eventually be able to do. Maybe there are certain distractions that you can have in the moment. Like maybe I will get to a point where I can do some watercolor painting while I'm listening to a French TV show, and I can do both and I can still understand it. I'm not to that point yet, but maybe in the future. Check and see where you're at. Are you able to do a bit of distracted listening? Something else I noticed, and this is actually with Spanish, is that sometimes when I'm eating popcorn, for example, because I like to watch a mystery with some popcorn, I find it more difficult to understand what the people are saying when I'm crunching on my popcorn that's real loud in my head. And so that can affect my listening as well. But these are things that you just play around with and you get curious about. And rather than getting really frustrated and like, I can't understand anything with Spanish, I can't understand any words in French today, I can think about what are some other factors coming into play here. Oh, I'm crunching on my popcorn really loud. Maybe that is affecting my listening. And if I'm not eating the popcorn, then maybe I can hear it better. Oh, I have the window open and the cars outside are super loud and I can't hear very well. Okay, maybe I put on the subtitles today because I can't hear the words that they're saying, not because I suddenly suck at listening, but because there are other factors happening. Or maybe I'm really tired that day. And incidentally, that was another leisure bust for me, was I was super tired one day and I went to watch the episode in French and I was all excited. I'm going to watch this in French. I turned it on, I started watching, and I just said, not today. And I switched it to the dubbed version of Spanish and I just watched it in Spanish. And it was a bust in the sense that I didn't get to do the French listening that I was hoping to do, but it was actually a win in the sense that I honored the fact that I was feeling really tired and I wasn't in the mood to watch it. Sometimes I feel really tired and I still feel like giving it a try, but that day I did not. And that brings to mind another point that maybe in the moment we don't always analyze these different things, like the cars outside affecting the listening, the crunching of the popcorn, being really tired or having had a bad day or just not feeling like it. And we get frustrated thinking, I'm just not good at it. I can't do this. It's so difficult. It's horrible. Listening is the worst. But maybe a couple days later, we can look back on that experience and analyze it for what it was and say, oh, this factor of the eating popcorn, that's the reason that the listening was more difficult. It's not me. I'm not bad at it. I'm just as good at listening in my own language as I am at listening in the language that I'm learning, right? I have that same ability. I don't know the words and the sounds to the level that I know it in my own language yet, though. That's the thing that I need to keep working on, but it's not that I'm bad at it. And when we can just realize and not be so mean to ourselves, then we can go back into this curiosity and experimenting with our listening, which allows us to be more joyful when we do it. And it can be a more fun experience and just like, oh my gosh, there are words from another language that I am understanding. And we can celebrate these little moments. Um, Another leisure bust that I had was that I was feeling tired one day, but I decided that I did want to go ahead and watch the episode in French. So I was watching it and I wasn't retaining the information as well. So it was taking me longer to read the subtitles and I would have to rewind multiple times again and again and again. And I mean, sometimes like 5 times I had to rewind and then pause like right on the subtitle because I was just like, they're saying this too fast for me to comprehend. And it felt it felt like work. And so it didn't feel as fun as some other times when I've been watching French. And so maybe that day was not the best day to dedicate to a 90-minute episode of a TV show. And in hindsight, I probably would have done a shorter amount of time and then come back to it on another day to finish. And that would have been a more enjoyable experience. And I applaud my dedication. So good for me that I pushed through it. But I think that that experiment showed me that I enjoy more when I don't have to rewind so much and obsessively read the exact words that they're saying, that I just get a general idea of the information. And when I'm more awake, more alert, I'm able to do that more easily, for sure. One of the things that if you're watching a show on your own, like maybe you're watching on a computer or you're listening on your phone, that having headphones helps me to have the person in my head, basically. I feel like I get to hear them closer to me, just like how crunching the popcorn overpowers the sound of people speaking. Having little earbuds in can help the words sound clearer in my head, which when I'm watching it on a TV, I don't do that, but maybe there would be other situations where you could give that a try. And what other experiments have I done that you could try for yourself? Hmm. Oh, there are times when I practice French without using subtitles, which is actually a really daring thing for me to do, I feel like, because I I am a beginner in French, and so doing this listening without my subtitles is kind of scary because I'm like, "Oh my gosh, ah." But because I'm doing it for fun, then it's not so scary. And I can just choose a cartoon or a game show, maybe a little piece of news or the weather. And I can just spend, you know, maximum 30 minutes. I really wouldn't do more than that, me personally, with listening to that with no subtitles, just What do you understand? What do you think you understand? And maybe you don't even get to confirm it or anything. You just get to absorb what you think you're absorbing and see how it feels and just be curious. I think that is the big lesson for me that I offer to you is to be curious with your listening. Experiment, have fun, be interested in trying new ways to spend time with your English practice when you are doing it in a leisure setting where you're just trying to absorb some sounds in English, and also when you want to actually do it as studying and you want to try as a dictation or copying pronunciation, which, as I said, you can totally head over to my website and grab my digital product, Listen, Read, Speak, to get some more ideas for how you can expand on your pronunciation, grammar, and lots of areas with your listening practice. And that is all I have for you. I hope that you are able to take some of my own practice experiences, try them out for yourself, see how distracted learning and chomping on chips as you're eating affects your listening, and just stay curious. That's all I can say. That's the big motto for today. Have fun with your listening, happy learning, and ciao.